0, 1.
Let's get started.
Most traders are watching direction, but the real edge is knowing the exact level institutions are reacting to. The S&P 500 is approaching a zone that historically decides whether continuation accelerates or reverses fast. I'm watching a specific structural reaction here, the same framework I break down live inside the Discord before every move expands. So let's read this chart together here, okay? Now, if we get rid of all the chaos that we've talked about from yesterday's video and just get to the heart of what we need to see here. So let's get rid of everything. Boom. So this is what we end up having left, okay? We have a expanding range. Now this expanding range often gets heavier into a trend as you approach the extremes, okay? So what we're really looking at right now is a bigger move that has pushed to the upside and still a move of which we're looking for a retest of this prior high. That's the main ideal from today, okay? Now that's not the only situation, and we will talk about what happens if we fall down lower, but just be aware for now that that's the general concept highlighted first in yellow. So with that being said, what's the structure that we have at hand? Well, as you can pretty much see for yourself, this is a relatively bearish move to the downside, right? Big old bearish move down, and we've almost retested the low. So to be quite honest, there's two variations I'm really looking for. Okay, the sweet home run, gotta have it spot is going to be if we eclipse past this low, because most people will assume at this point that the market's going to be bearish. However, that's a perfect dip buying opportunity for that twin variation and rotation to now go all the way back up to these prior highs at the very least. Okay, so just be aware that this is kind of like the A+ setup that we're looking for as far as tomorrow's reaction. Now, ultimately, what could happen is a continuation pattern after we retest that high in an event that we go up higher and higher, okay? Now, that will give us another move and attempt to buy this market as it is clearly looking to retest the prior high from this expansion. That's somewhere right at that 693, let's say 3/4, okay? So again, in general, what has just happened is the completion of this big move, retest and going higher, okay? So let's talk about some of the subdivisions of this overall move going up. So there are certain spots we need to be aware of in terms of pivots, okay? The first one is going to probably be, you can sell this thing going down. You could. It's going to be a little bit difficult, but you could. Now, I say it's a little bit difficult because of the fact that it's not only that low is where people are targeting, but because of how this market was supposed to pull back, retest the low first, there's a lot of negative space here, okay? That means a lot of people that were trying to sell this thing to retest the low are still in it because we never retested the low. So because of that, the negative space creates a trend channel, okay? That basically creates a level of support that is more or less going to be anchored in off of this low, okay? So now you have something like this where actually be opposite, right? Let me get that. There we go. Something like this, where we don't necessarily have to come all the way back down and retest this low at 684, okay? Now that leads me to the second bull case scenario. Now we can pull back, and it's a shallow pullback. And in that situation, just be aware of the fact that we're more than likely going to see a GNR pattern. It's a little bit different, same general concept. However, this allows us to get in as pretty much as low as possible because, again, we are best case scenario expecting it to retest this low, okay? And again, this is kind of like because we haven't retested the low, this trend channel now is going to be a major level of support. So if you notice that the pattern does occur in that situation, then we can now look for that abrupt move all the way back up to the prior high. And we can also target the top end of this bull channel at that point, okay? So just be aware that that's a major level of support that basically we are right now at that 686. And even if we don't, even if we go down a bit further into 683 and even a little bit lower, then we're still looking for buying opportunities, okay? Now that we've pretty much covered the majority of the bull case scenarios, there is one more bull case that we can talk about, and then we will talk about the bear case scenarios, okay? The other bull case scenario is that we have a potential range right here, okay? Now, for it to be a true bull case scenario, we will have to break out basically going higher. I know the aftermarket is saying that we are somewhere into that 685 range, but let's just say the market opens on cash and we're all the way back up to this prior high, okay? we're basically going to take a page out of the playbook over here on the right hand side, in which we're looking for that strength to show. Okay, as long as we don't retest that high, that significant strength is going to be looking to now be a breakout level in which we can buy from. Okay, target not only the fact that we have the channel as support, which was resistance, and the fact that we have this nice big strong breakout that's want to retest the high. We have a whole bunch of like things that are converging together to continue this path in a bullish notion. But again, we will have to break out significantly higher on strength. So those are a whole bunch of variations. Okay, Fridays do get crazy, but these are just the bull case scenarios. Okay, now we need to talk how we can be bearish. Well, the most important bear case scenario.
Before we return to the charts, a brief note. For those who want to go deeper than the public breakdowns, daily watch lists, private live trading sessions, and structured market analysis, the community is linked below. There are 2 tiers dedicated specifically to live trading access, and a separate tier that unlocks the complete course library for those who want the full framework from the ground up. Every Friday, I also host a free public livestream, no commitment required, if you simply want to observe the process in real time. As always, nothing here is financial advice. This is structured execution, shared transparently. Now then, back to the charts.
Well, the most important bear case scenario that I think is most prevalent for now is the fact that we are already gapping down, okay? So you really don't want to be bearish here, and you really don't want to be bearish here. So for you to really be bearish and we gap down tomorrow, we're going to have to break through that level substantially, okay? If we do and we wind up for whatever reason, may it be news or whatever, then okay, you definitely are looking for a sell. But even in that case, you're still expecting it to bounce, and then you can get in a nice and comfortable and look for a retest of that low, okay? And in this situation, we're going to end up pretty much at the base level of support of this expanding range, all right? Now in that situation, obviously it's bearish, but you will have to, again, be very, very patient. Now, ultimately, the full distance above this range is below this range. So if it's bearish, you will be targeting the low, which right now is roughly, 677, okay? Now, other than that bear case scenario, you do have some moments of being bearish as well. The first one being, if we go down to this secondary move right here, we push up, we have to pause at this situation right at that 690 area, because you do have the opportunity for the market to reverse, okay? And in this situation, it's going to more than likely be a giant range. I would have to get rid of some of these other variations really quickly to show you a bit better. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so at this point, it's a range, okay? Bear move down into a basic range because we retested the low, we pushed back up. You're looking for continuation, but what should happen is a rejection, okay? So let's just say you miss that whole move rotation to the low, and then you miss that whole rotation move to the upside. Just because it's a bull move up doesn't mean that you want to buy that high, okay? If it breaks out and continues, then okay, you can buy. However, what should happen is a breakdown to keep this overall range rotating, okay? So continuation down. Now, once we get back to these levels yet again, same dance, okay? You can look to buy it back up or look for it to sell off, and then you could become a seller at that point, all right? I know that's a whole bunch of different variations, and we talked a whole bunch of different like variables and terminology and all that good stuff. But I do have a free live stream every Friday here on YouTube, okay? Do yourself a favor, if you are serious about trading, look and come back to the channel at 9:30 a.m. where I have a free live stream of me trading the S&P 500's futures chart. The same thing I do with the Discord and Patreon every single day, okay? If you're serious about making some cash and about learning a system that works, then do yourself a favor and come back to an absolutely free live stream. It's between 9:30 it starts, and it's roughly right around 11:15, okay? So again, everyone, thanks for watching. See you on the next candle.